The they being General DeWitt, who was 6th Army, Presidio, San Francisco, California. And with the approval of Earl Warren, who was much in favor of it, he said that's the worst thing I've ever done later. Under an order signed by Franklin Roosevelt, over the opposition of J. Edgar Hoover, who said this isn't necessary. Interesting. Yeah, right. They took them and moved them to those camps. So Fred Korematsu, whom I once met, actually, decides to rock the boat. Because he says, I'm an American, they can't do this. And his parents told him not to. He said, I don't care. I'm bringing a case. And I met Fred Korematsu once, actually. It was interesting because our next-door neighbor in Cambridge was the daughter of a man called Ernie Besig. Ernie Besig, who used to play poker with my dad, in fact, was the ACLU, head of the ACLU in San Francisco. He represented Korematsu. The ACLU wouldn't sign the brief. I mean, we just had Pearl Harbor. Is it? They came around. They eventually, in the Supreme Court, did get involved. But the point is, he thought he was bound to win. Bound to win. And by the time it gets to the Supreme Court, it's 1944. I mean, there might have been blackout shades in 1942, January, but my goodness, nobody thought there was going to be an invasion by Japan by 1944. Is this legal? The court has asked. 2 lawyers in the Justice Department, it's such a good story, I'm going on and keep it on, but it is a good story. Ennis and Merlin start getting suspicious of the Defense Department's rationale from this, which was, well, sabotage, or there have been 753 messages sent to Japanese submarines off the shore, and it didn't sound right to them. So they looked up the sabotage instances, and of course the FBI, with J. Edgar Hoover, said, no, they all took place after the Japanese were moved. And besides, what about the messaging and so forth? He calls in the FCC, and the FCC comes back 2 weeks later, and they have a stack like that, and they say, no, there wasn't one. It was all buck privates who didn't know how to work the machines or something. So Burling says to them, well, how'd you do this so quickly? And he said, oh, we didn't do it now. We did it in January, February 1942, and we showed it to General DeWitt. And he knew this at the time. So they said, we're not signing the brief. And eventually, Herbert J. Wexler comes and he gets a compromise written. They write a footnote disowning the Defense Department, but do it in language you'd have to know, written in some kind of Armenian that no one could understand. I mean, really tough to figure out what they're talking about. But if you read it carefully, you can figure it out. All right, so I'd always thought, well, the court never read that footnote. Then I read the transcript of the argument. Charlie Horsky, who was representing the Japanese-American Defense League, says to the court, read the footnote. Read it. And you will see there's nothing to the government's case. Court decided it, 6-3, for the government against the Japanese. And who wrote the opinion? Black. Who was there with him? Douglas, Frankfurter, the same people who signed, got us desegregated with Brown v. Board. On the other side, there were 3. It was Roberts, Murphy, and Jackson. Murphy he was right.